Welcome back to Odys podcast. This time we've had a conversation with Doug Cunnington, a prolific passive income expert who can tell you everything about it and beyond. Support this show by subscribing to our YouTube channel or listen to it on your favorite streaming platform. Hi, Doug. It's an honor and pleasure to have you on our podcast. It's been a long time waiting and doing all these things like getting the schedule right and stuff, but here we are. So welcome.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'm pumped to chat today.
Awesome. Would you please tell how did you get into the affiliate marketing and niche site building from the very beginning? What did you do before that?
Sure. So I had kind of a boring job. I was a project manager for a software company, and I got started as a worker bee in, I guess it was management consulting. So I worked at a company called Accenture, and it was, pretty exciting. It was kind of fun in the beginning. They make you feel like you're really important and really smart, right out of the gate, and they send you on these projects. And I quickly realized that wasn't super fun. I didn't quite know why I hated it so much, but this sort of lifestyle of traveling out on Monday morning, flying to a client site, flying back on Thursday afternoon, barely have time to do anything at your house or whatever. And it just kind of started to burn me out a little bit, but I stuck with it because I was sold the dream of, the corporate ladder and get promoted over time. And I probably would still be doing that because good benefits, good pay. And I worked remotely towards the end of my career there, but I got laid off in 2015. Mm-hmm. Now, that's what I was doing beforehand. So I had somewhat of a software background, project management, testing, all in the IT world. And in 2013, I found the Smart Passive Income podcast, which is a gateway podcast for so many people in our industry. And I thought Pat Flynn was a scammer. I didn't believe anything he said, but I was hooked. And I was like, all right, there might be something to it. This guy seems genuine and legit. So I devoured all the content that he had. I made his show a jumping off point to find other people's shows. So at that time in 2013, Pat was working on niche sites and affiliate marketing and SEO. So I learned from him a lot. And then I went over to Niche Pursuit, Spencer Hawes, and learned a ton from him. Eventually got featured as a success story on Spencer's blog and podcast 2013, 2014. And it was a volatile time. I guess SEO and affiliate marketing is anytime you jump in, it always looks volatile.
Yeah.
It was volatile back then. And I, had quick success, but also, manual penalties. I had a lot of issues, making, $1,000 a day, and then it drops to zero.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy stuff, right? It hurts a lot. And I was experiencing all those ups and downs. So I was pretty much hooked. I didn't get my footing until I actually got laid off and could really focus in and look at the experience that I had with the ups and downs over the couple years, plus the added focus of, if I don't make this work, then I have to get a real job again, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah. Well, so what was the side? Oh, maybe the side. Several of them that stabilized the situations for you. I'm not asking about particular sites, but what were they themed around?
Sure. One was I could just say generally in the food space. I've sold sites in the past, and I think it's been long enough, and I'll be vague enough. So, some in the food space, and then others in sort of the outdoor space also. Mm-hmm. But when beginners ask what are good niches? Almost all of them are fine. Yeah. If you look around and you've been in the industry, you could find good examples of sites that seem really obscure. You wouldn't think they would work. And they're, a 6-figure site easily just with affiliate marketing with Amazon, nothing fancy, nothing with a higher commission. no digital products. It's just affiliate marketing, display ads. So I think, if you find something that you're kind of interested in, that's probably good enough. And the rest is like the execution part. There's no like magic list of all the industries that work really well. Low competition, high profit, like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, this reminds me of what Shauna Newman was saying on our episode. Well, she was really fond of her board game website, and it was really like selling well, bringing profit. It got hit by the. I think it was one of the sites that got hit by the Google Core updates last year. But yeah, but she was really. Like it seems like an obscure niche, like board games. Come on, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, you can play board games once in a while, but to really make a living of a website focused around it, it sounds like weird at first, but then if you think about it, yeah, it's just like you said, there are plenty of niches that can work.
And on that note, you can investigate, elsewhere too. So I'm not into board games as much as some people. We actually have a few of them and have enjoyed, learning new ones and all that. But if you take a look on YouTube or other areas, but YouTube is great. There are huge channels for board games. Yeah. Again, you were like, is anyone even playing these? Like who's going to spend like $150 on like the big box of Carcassonne or whatever. We did. We actually had. But the thing is, they'll do like playthroughs, or they will have an hour and a half long video and like 4 people sitting there and they like play the games. These people are probably making huge amounts of money, and people are watching them play a physical board game to like get strategy tips and just see the mechanics or whatever. So you could go investigate on YouTube. It's probably one of the other great places, or, TikTok, Instagram, like wherever there's an audience, like if there are folks around, it's probably a decent industry to play in.
So you've been into videos more than into like text content lately.
Yeah. So that shift was around 2017 or so. And I think I was interested in video anyway. I have a lot of cameras. I've been into photography since I was a kid, and it was kind of a natural thing. Like I enjoy the gear. I enjoy like some of the mechanics of it all. And early on, I was learning from people on YouTube. Again, the folks that I mentioned, they were doing tutorials and walkthroughs, and it was really cool. And I actually did a live stream in 2014. I think it's still on my channel. I need to go back. But I did a live stream. It was rough, and I had a good time doing it. I was like, wow, people actually showed up and watched it. It's much easier to do that. I mean, you could like live stream on your phone nowadays. But back then, it was a little bit more sloppy. And I wanted to do more videos the whole time, but I just didn't know like what to do. And I was a little nervous. I was scared of the camera. I've published some of those videos where I was just trying to record like 4 minutes, and it would take me like hours, and I would like just be anxious and all that stuff. But eventually like you get over it. And the big shift in 2016, 2017, when I was focusing on videos, I looked at my email list, which was like what I was trying to build. The traffic that came from YouTube was converting at like a 5x rate.
Wow.
Compared to any other traffic.
Wow.
And I was getting, it wasn't like a small little snapshot. This was like over the course of like a year and a half or something like that. So I looked at the data. I was like, holy shit, that's a huge opportunity. And even, back then in 2017, I thought, I'm late to the game. People are already way ahead of me. And luckily I still did it.
Yeah.
And now it seems like, 6 years later, well, I'm glad I have that 6-year head start. And, some big channels out there, some folks you probably know, like Income School. I remember reaching out to them and we did a collab. I think they had 3,000 subscribers when I reached out to them. I think they're over like 200K now or close to it. Alex at WP Eagle, I think he had like 2,000 or 2,500. So I was like the smallest, but I was reaching out to people trying to collaborate, and just, again, I was kind of interested in the video. I wanted to improve my presentation skills, and it seemed like that was the best route to grow the email list, was one of my goals at the time.
Yeah, so you're basically the chasers of black swans, according to Taleb.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Just a little, like a step back. What did it feel like to earn your first dollar with niche sites?
Right. It's amazing. You know, you hear the stories. I probably listened to 100 hours of podcast episodes before I earned my first buck. And I was an action taker. I started doing stuff almost right away. Like once I had enough of a plan to move forward. So probably within a month or 6 weeks or so, I like launched my first site. It was an AdSense based site in a very obscure niche. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't know WordPress, didn't know how to write content. I remember actually like writing the first couple articles, and it felt like I was doing it wrong. I probably was. But basically, after probably a month or so, I was getting a little bit of traffic. And then one Saturday morning, I saw a click and it was like 13 cents, something like that. And I was like, I showed my wife, I was like, this is amazing. Like someone went to the website and they must have clicked an ad. So it was like 13 cents was the first little bit. And I'm sure, you know, after that, a few more clicks were coming in. So within a week or so, made that first dollar. But that proved the model. And I remember back in the day, things were different then, but back in the day, people were like, if you could build one website that earns like $1, well, you can make it earn $10. And then if you have 10 websites making $10, then that's $100 a day. So it starts to get significant. Of course, these days, that would be way too much overhead and volatility. But back then, there were people with 80 websites making a few bucks a day, and that was like a great side income. You could pay their mortgage or something.
Yeah. What is your approach to building a website? Like when you get a domain, whatever, whether it's new or aged, whatever, and pick a niche, like what do you do next?
So usually there will have been some keyword research with picking a niche. And to be fair, I don't start websites very often these days. So I think the last new one that I started was like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I have like an itch right now. There's an area that I probably will start one. So I'm thinking through it. So I don't have like SOPs on doing this because it's been infrequent, but there's a couple themes that I do like. I use WordPress. There's a couple themes that I like. They're kind of bare bones, like content up front. One is called Carbonate. My friend Matt Giovanisi created that. Do you know Matt over at Money Lab?
No, I don't know him. Probably have seen something related to him, but I do not know him personally.
He has a site called Swim University, which is pretty interesting, but he uses that theme Carbonate on Swim University, makes like $1 million a year, something like that, top line. And then another one that I really like is the Focus WordPress theme, which is based on Thesis, which is like one of the original premium themes out there. So it's gone through some iterations, but both of those are really content up front, and they're made to look very good visually while being very simple, which is what I like. I don't like content builder type deals or anything like that. Too many decisions for me to make. Usually, if you have to migrate away from them, there's a lot of mess left behind. So typically, I like those two themes. There's a handful of WordPress plugins that I use. Mostly it's around security and offsite backup. So I think that's pretty critical to have, a secure site, make sure if anything happens, like if there's a physical fire at the server building, that you have an offsite backup. And other than that, I mean, it depends on some other things that you're, what you need to implement. But I would say one of the standard SEO plugins is probably fine to use. And again, whatever you're trying to do, there's plugins to do it, but I try to keep those minimal in general.
Yeah. Are there any tools that you use usually when building a site? Like, well, for example, we've had an episode with Azzedine Dijdid, who also made a presentation on our behalf at the Saigon conference. He's a very frugal person, and he doesn't like spending money on the things he doesn't need, like literally. And he says that Google is your best friend, and Google basically has everything you need to build a successful affiliate website. But a lot of other people use all the different tools, and everyone has their own preferences, So what about you?
Sure. I fall in the middle. I think you can get just about everything you need from Google or free like resources that are out there. That said, I do use Ahrefs and KW Finder and a couple other tools, but I've said it over and over again, like the tool doesn't matter so much. It's if it gives you the information that you need and it fits your budget.
Yeah.
And sometimes having more data is not helpful. So I think tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs can be really useful if you're like trying to get from 90% to 99%, that kind of thing, where like the extra data can really help you out. But if you're starting out, then you don't need all that data. You probably will be overwhelmed with all the information that you get, and you don't know how to filter out all the noise. So, and the other thing is I don't have any like allegiance to specific tools where I'm like, you have to use X tool because I make a big affiliate income from them. I don't care. So that's been interesting to see. And I mean, some of the tools are great, right? Some of the tools are really good and they do provide a lot of value. But sometimes when you hear that you should use certain tools, and I'm not saying the people that you mentioned, by the way, but sometimes when you hear people say, you got to use this tool, it's like they're making like $4,000 a month in affiliate revenue. So they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. Of course, they're going to say they're incentivized to really make it sound like something is essential when it might not be. And I got sucked in early in my career when I heard like, oh, you have to use this tool. And then I got it and I was like, this tool is awful. And it's, whatever, a $500 tool. And the person made 50% commission on it. So all that to say, the tools don't matter too much. Just if you find one that you like, stick with it, learn how to use it really well. That's what I suggest people do.
That sounds like a pretty good advice. All right. Speaking of monetization, like what are your favorite ways of monetizing a website?
So early on, I think Amazon is great, even though the commission rates are lower. And as a partner in your business, you really can't trust them. You don't know what they're going to do. It's like, I have the same trust level with Amazon and Google to make good algorithm updates through the year. I don't trust them. So monetization wise, starting out, Amazon is really good. It's going to convert really well. If you go in with your eyes open, they're not a good business partner, but they convert so well. They have so many items. It's probably the easiest way to get started. There are certainly examples of people that created partnerships with specific brands and they earn affiliate income from them at a much higher rate. Typically, it won't convert as well, but they may earn more money because they have that direct relationship. Sometimes there's, if it's a premium product, it's not going to be on Amazon. The company is not going to dilute their brand. So they'll only sell direct or through like special retailers or whatever. So Amazon's great. Display ads, AdSense is kind of like the bare minimum, but there's plenty of other companies that do display ads, and you can work with them. I think in a lot of ways, the user experience sucks on a site that has a lot of ads. So I would use a light hand with that, unless, you just want to test it out, which I encourage people to test things out.
Test things out and find their own way.
Exactly. And I mean, if it's a specific industry, like, a food or recipe blog, they're covered with ads and like the stupid pop-up videos that get in the way when you're trying to look at a recipe. And those are, people accept those at this point. So those are kind of the main easy areas. But when I'm looking at a niche, I want to find something where the affiliate marketing piece has more opportunities. So not just physical products on Amazon, but I love to see digital products, either in the form of courses or software or both. So one of the examples that I love to give is like the videography or photography area. So those are high ticket items. There's a ton of products out there. There's always new ones coming out. There are great comparison type keywords like this lens versus that lens, or this camera body from 2 years ago versus this new one. There's so many, like this brand versus another, so many keywords you can go after. So great product area. There are courses on how to edit video, how to put together vlogs, how to edit photography. There's specific applications. So photography for real estate, photography for wildlife. There's courses on all of that stuff, right? Further, you have software. So you have to edit with some kind of software. So you could be an affiliate for those. So that's like the holy grail. On top of that, you can create your own digital products, which I think that is like the next level. So it's difficult to do. You have to probably get an email list going. You probably have to figure out how to create a course, how to figure out like what the course should be on. You have to figure out how to sell it, how to launch it. So that's an involved thing, but that's where the margins go from 30 or 50% for some of the digital products to like 90%. The software to do this is so affordable now. So I use Kajabi. Teachable is great, but there are a lot of other platforms. I think Thinkific, it's a commodity now. Like you could just sign up and have like something that would have been a custom software solution like 10 years ago. Yeah. It's amazing what you can do in like 10 minutes.
Wow, you've basically just given out an instruction on how to build an affiliate website. But yeah, wow, it really like gives you a good perspective on how things work and how seemingly like obscure niche can actually like hold a huge promise in it. I know I'm not saying that videography, audiography is an obscure niche, definitely not. But like you just showed that it has all these different levels, and I think this is true about pretty much any niche.
I think so, yeah. And it's just an easy one for me to give. I'm staring at a camera right now. Not creative, so. But that's an easy one where it's very clear of like these different levels, and you can start off like on level 1 and slowly level your way up if you want to. That's the great part. Like if you pick a niche properly, you could just leave it at Amazon affiliate revenue and display ads and not do anything else and do great. But if you want to do extra, you can. And that's the key, is like you have the flexibility in the future if you want to. And depending on like your monetary goals or your lifestyle goals, like you may gravitate towards a different direction. And I know for me, I shifted from like a lot more monetary goals to now it's like a time is the resource. Time is the thing that I'm more interested in, and optimizing that versus like optimizing for maximum profit.
Well, you basically like established a foundation for yourself, like monetary foundation, like, that you can rely on. So at some point you just realize that there's more time on your hands that you can focus on like doing more, I don't know, let's say more quality product, whatever it's websites, content, videos. Yeah, it's like it always like gives this a safe pillow, safety
Right.
pillow.
Yeah.
Let's linger a little bit on the websites thing a little bit. Let's say like I'm a straight up website building noob, and like I just I don't know, just got kicked out of some obscure job that didn't have anything to do with content or whatever, and I just heard about like affiliate websites, niche websites. There's this passive income opportunities. I want to start doing the websites. Where do I start? What would you advise?
So a couple things. I like video, and
Obviously.
there's so much on YouTube. Like you could learn so much on YouTube, so much more than like when I was learning and when I started. So, if your sink gets clogged, you could probably watch a video
Yeah.
like pretty quick and figure out how to
TikTok.
unclog it. Yeah, TikTok. Yeah. So I would say, find someone on YouTube that is teaching what you want to learn. And there's going to be several people in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them will have blogs also. So there'll be like written content that you could follow along with. So I would start on the YouTube side and then kind of like look around. And if there's a different format of content that you enjoy, like the written word, you can check out their blog too. But I would sort of shop around and find someone who's doing what you think you want to do. And the videos are kind of important because you could see and maybe interpret if they are trustworthy or not. Because there's a lot of weirdos online. Make money online is like one of the worst industries. So there's a lot of people that just try to, take your money.
Yeah.
They're not really offering any value. So with the video, you have the opportunity to like see how the person is interacting, especially like with live streams. So I do live streams all the time, once a week. And if you're able to see how they're interacting, you'll develop like a relationship from afar, and you'll like either trust them or you won't. They'll also have a certain presenting style or vocabulary or some intangible that you'll be able to attach to. And that will be your person to like learn from. And I suggest you just try to learn from like one person's business model that hopefully they've done it before. If they haven't done it before, maybe you shouldn't trust them. But basically follow along with what they're teaching. And it's important to follow along with one, not many, because it's really easy to cherry pick certain strategies or business models and put together a really horrible Frankenstein combination that unfortunately doesn't work. So you're like, oh, I did this from this person, and you just don't know what you don't know. So when you put it all together, it's a horrible combination. So if you learn from one person, you could kind of go through that path. And then later you can start adding more. So it's like, we were talking music earlier. It's kind of like when you're learning, the example is like a jazz musician, right? So you learn the greats like note for note, and then later you improvise once you understand what they were doing. So it's kind of like that. Like in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know, and you're going to make some dumb decisions. You're going to make mistakes, which is totally normal. Get those out of the way. It's great in the beginning. The stakes are usually pretty low. Often it just costs you time and usually a smaller amount of money than if you make the mistakes later, which could be very expensive.
Yeah.
So that's the general idea. Find someone on YouTube, maybe find a blog, see if you trust them, try to find examples of their success, try to find examples of maybe people that they taught as well. And that'll be a really good path. As far as like, the necessity to buy courses, I am biased, right? I have courses myself, but you could do it without courses. I did a lot of stuff without courses. It just takes a little bit longer to piece together all the disjointed information on YouTube. There's too much information on YouTube. So you are unsure, like, what's the most important thing? What's the priority? What order do I need to do this? I've created videos on topics that are interesting, but maybe not necessary for someone to know about. So if someone accidentally thinks that's a really important thing, they may waste a lot of time on something that is trivial.
Yeah, I see. You mentioned that your trust to Amazon and Google is on the same level. So what do you make of the last year's Google's core updates?
I don't make any sense of it. The big thing is when we see an update that hits a site and then it drops, say, like 80%. And then a couple months later, it just pops back when no action was taken. Nothing was going, like no big
Changes.
project. And basically it looks like there was a mistake in one way or the other. Either the site sucks or the site's great. But if you lose 80% and then you go up by the same amount, or you continue on your previous trajectory, it doesn't make sense. It sounds like incompetence to me. So I don't know. I mean, every now and then you hear someone who's like, "Oh yeah, my site picked back up." But those examples make me think there's a lot of uncertainty and turbulence. And I can't remember. I don't know who this creator is, but someone told me, like, third hand, that they speculated that it was kind of politics in the Google department, the search and SEO area, where maybe it's the spam team, but basically, let's say they got a new director, and the new director is like, "Oh, I want to make my mark. We're going to do this initiative. We're going to make some changes." And then they have their team who's making updates on code that's like 15 years old. All the people that wrote it are somewhere else, and they're trying to do something to make a name for themselves. And then mistakes are made, and then they try to correct them later. So I don't make much sense. I said, the trust level is pretty low as like a partner in my business. Google, I don't know.
Just too much involved in there. Were you hit hard by it? I mean, your sites that you're still running.
Not in a major way. So I had one site, I think it lost about 20%
That's fairly
of its
distant.
traffic. And there were so many updates, I don't remember exactly which one.
Well, I think the biggest one was in May, like when everyone Twitter just blew up with the critique, the criticism and uproar. Everyone went crazy. I think the May was the biggest one.
I think mine was more in the fall, but I can't remember. And the other confusing part with it is I know a couple people that had all information sites, no product reviews at all, not affiliate driven, just display ads, informational content. The product review update is the one that hit them. So like you hear these examples and it's like, I thought they were looking for like affiliate related product reviews, not how-to articles. So it's all a little confusing. And like I said, it seems like incompetence at some level.
Yeah. What do you think of the modern day niche site affiliate marketing industry? Like compared to what it was when you started?
It's definitely higher quality content. So when I started my first site, I actually did write 90% of like the first, say 100, 150 articles or so. I wrote a lot of it. Part of it was just the bootstrapping aspect. The big thing, especially with that first site, you could rank really quickly. So for a relatively competitive term, maybe getting 5,000 searches per month, I was able to rank it like number one as a novice beginner in 2.5 months, something like that. And these days, I mean, that may take 2 years. I mean, the industry is a lot more mature,
a lot more competitive.
And yeah, and the people that have been doing it for a little while have been able to reinvest more and have the higher quality content. So yeah, big changes are the quality of the content and then the speed at which you could rank. So now it's much slower.
Mm-hmm.
The As a result of like Google trying to stay ahead of spammers and SEOs, the ability to build links has changed pretty dramatically, or like effective links. You can still build links, but I remember, spinning up content, gibberish, largely gibberish, publishing it on like the Web 2.0, like blogger.com or WordPress.com,
Yeah.
like free websites, and just linking from there. I mean, I think some people still do that as part of their link building strategy, but that was like one of the primary components. And there were whole little industries set up and agencies that would do just that kind of stuff, which sounds crazy now. I mean, I think most people nowadays would think, why would you set up like a fake website with terrible content and link to yours? But it was a common practice,
Mm-hmm.
and it was taught all over the place. So nowadays, I think you have to, look farther, and think about like sites that you really would want to have a link from. And nowadays, like if you have a blog, like you're probably getting spammed about people that want to build links or they want to guest post on your site. It's just much more mature here 10 years later.
Yeah. And as far as I can tell, especially after the SEO Mastery Summit in Saigon, even though the competition is much higher than it was, the promise is much higher as well, much greater. I mean, like, you see the people who make like staggering amounts of money a year, and they're just like, you wouldn't ever guess they do this. They look sort of fresh. I mean, you can see that they work a lot, but they have this opportunity to like to live the life that they really enjoy, and they teach other people as well. Not everyone, but still, and they just really, pick up the fruits of their work.
Right. Well, and you were just at the conference, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what was the overall outlook there? Are some people like, with ChatGPT, the whole industry is gonna like, what was it like? Maybe on stage, and then versus like people that were in the audience.
Well, there certainly were concerns about AI. So, I mean, it was the hottest topic of the conference. Pretty much any conversation ultimately led to discussing AI in one way or the other. But in general, I would say that even those people who were concerned, like seriously concerned, I don't know if all of them, but most of them were leaving the conference with expectation of something new and great coming up their alley, like that. Yeah, there's this sort of problem that ChatGPT poses right now for content writers. Well, for SEOs, for content and everything. But it can also be used as a great tool, and that ultimately it will like blend into the industry, and people will start using it to their own advantage. And yeah, so this is pretty much was the overall consensus.
Yeah, and I was skeptical for a couple years. I mean, the tools were not as good until ChatGPT seemed to really like make a huge jump forward.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I took a couple weeks to figure out like how to use it, because in our industry, people are like, oh, I could just write content, which I think most of us realize, like if everyone does that, then it's a low barrier to entry. The competition level is, level. So you have to do something more, which would maybe be write the better content or add images or something that are uniquely taken for your site. But as I've figured it out and tried to use ChatGPT more, then it's like a virtual assistant type role where it saves a huge amount of time. It's not writing the content that I'm publishing, but it makes a lot of the tasks related to it much easier. So I think yeah, like you're saying, some people are super scared. And I mean, I have a friend who's actually, they're going to liquidate all their sites. They think it's the end of the world.
Oh
Like
wow.
they think it's going to be like, in months.
Oh wow.
So they're like, I'm selling everything right now. I don't think anything really changes that fast. Like our human habits are a little different. And I think
Yeah.
one of the issues, right? The chat tools can give us an answer on informational topics pretty well most of the time,
Hmm.
but not always.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the first couple times someone gets burned by the chat bot, it gives you the wrong answer. Like you're trying to unclog your drain and it tells you the wrong thing. You're not going to be as likely, especially at a higher stakes thing where maybe like the drain leaks all over your floor. Like you're not going to trust it as much.
Yeah.
So I think it's not that good yet, and maybe it will be before too long, but I don't think it's imminent.
Yeah. Well, everyone's definitely like hyped up for GPT-4. You know, I'm sure you saw this graph where the comparison of the data sets that GPT-3 and GPT-4 were trained on, where GPT-3 was trained on like this much, and GPT-4 was trained on like this much. You know, so everyone's hyped for that and pretty excited to see what it's gonna do. And I don't know. It seems like even though these people do have like some legit concerns about it, like not being able to do what they're used to do and earn money the way they're used to earn, but they're still excited to see this new technological leap. You know, I mean, it's always it's pretty much like, I don't know, launching a rocket to Mars and getting people there, but more like local wise, because. We as humans, I don't know, we've always found ways to put things to our advantage. You know, horses. Okay, we're gonna ride horses. Oh look, so they're mining coal and they're using it to get energy. Okay, we're gonna do ships and trains and all those types of machines. All right, now we have gasoline. What are we going to do with that? And it goes on and on. Same with computers when they first arrived. Like, remember those huge computers that took like the entire room? So yeah, everything has changed so quickly actually, and we can even right now we're talking over over Zoom, you located like thousands of kilometers away from each other and having a great conversation. And I really think that this ChatGPT thing is going to turn into something great eventually.
I agree, and I think one of the points that you made kind of in the subtext there is we're at a point where things are going to change, and the industry is going to change, the business model. Certain areas were shaky anyway, with like Google updates and Amazon changing their commission rate. And it's just part of like what you have to deal with. Any business is going to have like that external component that you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to deal with it as part of the game. But the big thing is like, there's going to be a shift. Things are going to change, and our industry might be like overturned a little bit. But we're in a great position because we know a lot about the core components. We have all these micro skills around, SEO in general, building websites, content, maybe hiring freelancers. Like those are all good skills to have. And like there'll be some component of that in the future that you'll be able to use. So I think we're at a great opportunity point versus like people, thinking everything's going to end and like it's all going to go away. It'll just shift into something different.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it seems like a great time, like you said, to be kind of on the forefront. And I think you're right. Like with chat or GPT-4, like I don't even know like how that will shift things. And quick example, I'm not sure if I'll make the analogy quite right, but back in the day when they had old factories, right? This is like 1800, early 1900s, something like that. I don't know. I wasn't alive then, but a long time ago, they they had the machinery in the factories, right?
Yeah.
And they had steam engine power, right? They
Yeah.
had steam running the machinery. And then electricity came along. So they didn't have to deal with the water or the steam. It's a whole new technology, right? But they were still setting up their factories in the same way because that's what they did. They didn't know that it didn't have to, there was a steam line running through the factory. Now they didn't have to do it that way. They can move things around. So it took a little while for them to redesign the factories to do different, or basically the assembly line, right? So they could change it up to be more efficient. We're at that point. We don't know exactly what we need to do with it, but like once we figure out how to use the tools properly, it'll be like a big jump and people will think, oh, I thought we were just supposed to write content with this. Turns out you could do
so
a
many
ton of
different
other
things.
things.
Yeah. The truth be told, when ChatGPT was first released, me as a copywriter, first of all, content writer, I got a little bit stressed out. Oh my, it's doing such a great job at what I should do. But then over time, I kind of settled down with it, and just I see it as a useful tool for maybe doing some, I don't know, some more of like mechanical tasks. I don't actually use it for like writing. Maybe just for generating ideas of how to put things together. Once in a while, at this point in time, it's pretty much fun to just experiment with it.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Well, I have a good use case for you.
Okay.
Can you give me an example of like what kind of copy are you writing?
I'm writing social media posts. I'm writing website content, blog posts. It depends on what the company needs.
Okay, cool. So let's focus on like the blog content or maybe even like a sales page or something.
Yeah.
So you could feed in your content and then say what, let's say it's more sales oriented, right? So what opposition might a potential buyer have? And then you can go and basically get the gaps in your argument. So not just, improving certain things, but telling you, hey, there are some people that maybe they don't know this information or whatever, but they'll have some reservation and you can go ahead and answer their question and any opposition they have ahead of time. So that's a big one from that standpoint where you're like writing content. Okay, what holes, what gaps do I have? What did I not cover that I should have covered in this area?
Wow. Yeah, I actually haven't thought about that. So I'll definitely I'll try and do this in the coming days.
Yeah.
Just to see what I'll get. So you definitely were playing with ChatGPT for a while. I mean, you've posted several videos covering various sides of it. Have you considered trying to use it for, I don't know, for your video scripts or something like that?
Yeah, so I've already started doing that. Exactly. So one of the cool prompts that I ran across, so I did a bunch of research and watched a bunch of videos and then tried to figure out how I could use it. So there's a prompt generator prompt that you could use.
Oh, wow.
And so at that point, you could just give it a title, what you want it to do, maybe a little description, target audience, maybe a little of your background, whatever. And then it'll give you a few paragraphs of a prompt that can help you specifically for what you have to do. And it is, it's so amazing that I forgot the initial question. So I'm playing with ChatGPT.
Yeah. Have you considered using it for things like video scripts or something like that?
Okay. So
too much excitement.
And we'll start at the very beginning. So yes, I have. I'll give you a specific example as well. So I wanted to come up with some ideas around ChatGPT for bloggers, right? It's perfect for the audience.
Yeah.
So I said, Can you come up with some ideas around that? By the way, here's like some general topic areas that might be interesting. And it gave me about 25 ideas.
Wow.
Great. So then for each one, you could just say, hey, can you write a detailed outline about this title? Be sure, if you want to, you can say, be sure to include, these 2 points that are important. And then it'll give you the outline. And then from there, you just say, hey, give me a YouTube script. So I literally have done this. Give me a YouTube script for a 5-minute video based on that outline. And I said, I'll do some screenshot demos as well. So it created the outline, told me how long each section was going to be. The script is okay. I'm going to edit that, right? I need to put it in my own words. It told me where the demos would be and what to do and how long they should be. So basically, I'll be able to run through those and, you'll have to put it in your own words, but I'm probably am going to be able to like keep most of it because I've fed it some of my transcripts and said, here's how I talk.
Mm-hmm.
So it does a really, really good job at stuff like that. And, if you're publishing content and you're trying to rank in Google, well, that's a different story. But if you're getting like scripts for a YouTube video or maybe an outline for a podcast, it can save you 80% of the time and get 90% right most of the time. Yeah. So, have you done anything like that or?
Actually not. I've been playing around with it. I think with something having to do with emails, but we have an email marketing person who actually drafts all the emails. I was just doing it for fun to see what it can do. I've probably I haven't done anything like serious because of didn't need to at this point, but I've just was thinking right now that what you were saying right now is basically the answer to the things that we've been discussing previously, like what will it take away our jobs, something like that.
Right.
So it's just a new opportunity to scale basically. You save a lot more time and you get to do more things.
Right. It is so trainable too. I mean, like once you get that prompt, I could just give it to a virtual assistant and tell them to do the same thing. And like they create the whole script. I mean, it's fast anyway, but that's pretty cool. Now, this one will blow your mind. Okay. Have you used a tool called Descript? Do you know that tool?
Yep. I've used it a couple of times. Yep.
Cool. So for the people that don't know, it is a kind of an audio and video editing tool. So you could upload a file and it'll generate a transcript for you. It's pretty good. The technology is very good now. Then you could edit the video or audio based on the transcript. So instead of like being a video editor, like you could just edit the transcript. The timeline is down there for pure video editing as well. But one really cool thing that you can do is you could train it on your voice. All right. So I uploaded some podcast episode where it was just me. I trained it on my own voice. It took like 1 day. And then what you're able to do is take the script that I just told you about in the previous answer, take the script that I didn't write, I never said it. I can upload it to Descript and then it will read it in my voice. It is creepy. It sounds a slightly like robotic. The cadence of speech is a little bit off, but it's my voice and it's saying words that I've never said. I didn't even read the whole script, but yeah, super cool. And I mean, it's not perfect, but someone in my audience said that they recorded it for their podcast and their daughter just thought they had a cold. That was it.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I think it can be used as a pretty cool, piece of a tool or some kind of workflow. And another application, right? That was my own personal thing I was just testing out. But what that means is you could create a YouTube channel where you read like video essays and then it's all B-roll. There are channels with millions of subscribers where someone just wrote a great essay and they show B-roll for 20 minutes. So you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually heard something. I saw something similar to that. It wasn't related to the script. There was something else, some other service that does voice generation and video generation as well. And it was just when ChatGPT was released, someone actually like created a YouTube channel, subscribed to that service, where you can choose a persona of like some digitally generated person that's going to speak the words you're going to feed it, the script, and like chose some topic, and he just created a YouTube channel that started scaling right away, just using ChatGPT and that service that generated the voice and the picture of a person talking. So yeah, there's that.
And I think I've seen maybe a couple channels. I haven't watched the whole video, and they'll take like celebrity voices also. So I think the one I saw was like Snoop Dogg, something like that. Snoop Dogg saying, something that Snoop Dogg would normally say.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Snoop Dogg, that you must know that he's, I don't know if he still does it, but he used to do color commentary on UFC shows.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I don't know. You can look it up somewhere online. I'm not sure if it's available on YouTube or what or anywhere in particular. But yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, you can imagine his intonations, his persona, like commentating on what's happening in the octagon. It's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah. Getting back to videos and AI in particular, you see, well, this is another evidence that that AI is all the rage right now. I mean, ChatGPT, we're talking about it for I don't know how many minutes, and I don't see the stop to it. So much involved in it. I'm really excited about what's to come.
I agree, and I'm interested too. With being an investor in OpenAI and then Bing changing. I downloaded. I haven't used Bing. I don't think ever, but I downloaded their. I think it's called the Edge browser and have played around with that. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Bing. I don't know if a lot of people are going to shift over to Bing. I think either people are using it or not, and habits are slow to change. So I think it will be a lot of years before a majority of people. But it would be kind of cool to see some disruption in the search engine space. Whether it's, maybe Apple creating their own search engine and putting it on the iPhones and default in Safari. That may be the biggest opportunity for change out there. But was there any talk of that kind of stuff at the conference?
Let me think. The thing is that I've been representing Odys at the conference, so I wasn't listening to all the presentations. I was in and out all the time, because I had to be at our stand. But no, I don't think there were talks about this in particular. There was a lot of talk about link building, about semantic SEO, about metadata. No, I don't remember anything like that. I might have missed it actually, but yeah. Anyway, the crowd was really cool. It was actually, I think it was the first time I actually met so many people in such a short period of time. And I just kept talking to different people. And then I couldn't get to sleep, not because of insomnia, just because my brain was racing circles, just trying to process all the information I've been fed during these hours.
Are you guys going to affiliate gathering?
Yes, we're going to be there. Alex is going to be there for sure. And I think someone else from the company is going to go there with him. We're also going to go to Chiang Mai in November. Yeah, the one that Matt Diggity is doing.
Nice.
So yeah, we finally decided to get out of our cozy shell and put our faces out there.
Cool. Unfortunately, I won't be either one, but I'm sure you guys will have a blast.
Oh, well, right now I think we will, because I know when I went there to Saigon, I was concerned, a little scared. I could even say, because I've never been to such things before, to such events before, and I've never represented a company, So, and I was the first one to go. So, yeah, eventually it turned out perfectly. Like I couldn't have expected a better outcome, So just realized that we're not in some sort of a bubble, living in obscurity, but actually that people actually know about us, and a lot of them really appreciate what we do. A lot of them are already our clients, or buying domains from us. There was this guy from Canada. He now lives in Thailand, I think. He recently sold a site built on one of our domains for mid six figures. Yeah, and I was like, wow, now that's a great testimonial firsthand.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, getting back to videos. If I want to start creating video content, where should I start today? Like there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Instagram. So what's the best opportunity today in your perspective?
I like YouTube. I'm biased. I haven't spent any time on the other platforms. I think TikTok and Instagram probably represent a little bit more opportunity for like growth. But the tough part with each of those platforms is it's tough to get a person off of those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And my focus is maybe old school at this point, email, but emails are really effective at marketing.
Yeah.
So it's much easier on the YouTube side to create a video that will last a little longer, that you can get leads from in the long term. If your goal is something else, I think, your mileage may vary. Like if you're creating like a review site, or a review channel, then, maybe that's a little bit different, but generally I think YouTube is sort of the best opportunity. At this point, I'm also experimenting at shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm playing around with shorts, but I'm ignoring the other platforms, is at least on YouTube shorts, there's a path where someone can get to my channel and eventually get to my email list.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch a couple shorts, maybe you get curious and investigate the rest of the channel, or maybe their videos are suggested to you because you've watched a bunch of the shorts. So there's a very clear path where if you look at Instagram Reels or TikTok, then, I mean, you're stuck on the platform.
Yeah.
Like, you're lucky if you can get a link in there where someone can actually follow. I don't even know in Reels if you could even do that, or you have to say like, check my bio and like
Probably, yeah.
send
Probably
them on
bio.
a path.
Yeah. So you're using shorts as a part of your funnel.
Yep. I haven't had any great success with it yet, but it'll get a bunch of views. And it's fun to play around with. And I'm not too precious with my YouTube channel. So I'll just test stuff that is going to fail, and it doesn't matter too much to me. So I have made some mistakes. Like I was publishing several shorts in a short time frame, and it was notifying my subscribers. I forgot to uncheck the box to not notify the subscribers, because some people don't want like 8 in a row, but that's just our workflow. So we're sending them out that way. The cool part with shorts is it's reaching a whole new audience. So it's like 90% of the views are not subscribed, where all my other videos, it's the opposite. 90% of the viewers are subscribed. So that's the goal, to like reach the new people.
Yeah. Because I don't know, someone just swipes through shorts to just kill some time, and then they stumble upon your video, like, that could be interesting. Let me check for some more info.
Yep.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen to YouTube in particular when will it transition to more like the shorts side, or will it remain in the conventional, like more of a long form format?
I think both. There's a clear audience for both of those. So I do like long form, really podcasts. I usually don't watch anything too long on YouTube, but there are a number of people that watch, in air quotes, they watch YouTube, but they're using it as a podcast player essentially. And very recently, I'm not sure if you played around with it or have seen it, but I haven't done anything with it. But there's a new playlist type called podcast. So
Never seen it yet.
I just saw it rolled out in the last week or so, I haven't had a chance to mess with it. But my hunch is long form content will still be relevant for certain markets and audiences. And there's some stuff that I watch that's 20 or 30 minutes long. And I am also watching some YouTube shorts as well. So I think there's a fit for both of those. And again, at least on the YouTube side, even though it's like not my platform and things could change and the algorithm shifts and all that stuff, at least there's a way to have like short form content that leads into longer form content where I can link in the description to my email list or my podcast or anywhere else I want people to go. So do you have any thoughts on it? Do you think the short form is going to take over?
I don't think it will, because there are other platforms like TikTok in particular, and Instagram, and Facebook also has its reels as well. Plus, Amazon is going to roll out its Inspire app. I don't know how soon, but they're planning to, which is like their attempt to jump on the on the reel wagon, you know. Yeah, you haven't heard of it?
I didn't even know that.
Oh, you should.
No.
I cannot check it out because it's only available on the Apple Store, you know, and I have an Android phone, so I can't check it. But yeah, it's they're planning to. They really want to get their piece of that pie, you know. So we'll see how it goes. So I think YouTube will pretty much remain in its own niche, because they have this really established business model, and people really appreciate it. I mean, they watch anything from like 3 minutes long to 5 hours long podcasts, for example. You know, like someone like Lex Friedman occasionally rolls out 5-hour episodes, and people still watch them, you know. Maybe not at once, but still, like, over 2 or 3 days they still do it. So yeah, this is my feeling about it. And yeah, a good thing about shorts, maybe they will not become as popular as their conventional format, but they still will get at least some part of that new audience that's more inclined into watching short form content, you know. So that's what I think.
Yeah. And I can't remember what creator it was. It was someone with a podcast, and they said most of their growth was through YouTube shorts. So I am, even on the audio side, which kind of surprised me. I need to go investigate like what they were doing, but it is all of that discovery. That's the hard part with podcasts, especially on the audio side. There's very little discovery. Occasionally someone will go and search in the Apple Store or whatever their listener is, Google Play or whatever, and it's rare. So there's very little discovery. Sometimes people get traction on Spotify, but I think that's pretty rare too, where on the YouTube short side, you actually can get out there in front of a whole new audience. So it might just be, again, I've played around with it a little bit. I'm very early in my experimenting, but was actually just talking to my VA. I think I'm going to have her go through one of my old podcasts, give her 5 episodes. She'll create about 8 to 10 shorts based on the episode. And then we'll just like publish them like sort of consecutively every day. So see if we can like build the momentum where it actually like takes off. I've had a couple spikes here and there, and it's kind of cool to see, but it just goes away. Like it spikes, and then it doesn't have the long-term sustainability that I'm looking for, because I don't want to play the social media game of like the content treadmill where you have to post all the time. It sounds awful.
Yeah, we're actually doing something similar to that. After filming each episode, we have our crew guy do like several cuts from each episode. We watch through it, we select several fragments, and ask him to cut them out for Instagram, for TikTok, and for YouTube Shorts as well. It's all the same format, you know. And then our social media person just shortens them, just gets rid of all the stuff that maybe that's not so necessary in there, and just cramps it in to 1 minute, you know, and then we just post them on all those channels. So yeah, I haven't seen much traction on YouTube Shorts, but I still think that it's a great, you know, step in the funnel. I think that eventually we'll figure out how to do it, because you know we just recently started doing this relatively recently, and we do not have like a special person just investing all their time in YouTube and figuring things out. We're trying here and there, not putting all the eggs in one basket, and it's just trying things out and see how it goes. And even the podcast was one of those attempts, which turned out something valuable and interesting to our audience. And well, as it turned out, the best way to promote a podcast is to go and meet people. You know, but you can do it. You cannot physically do it all the time. You know, so yeah, at least we've got the word out there. So see how it goes. What do you like? What do you personally like the most about podcasting, since you're doing podcasts as well?
Wow, that's an interesting thing that I have not thought about specifically. So
good.
I'm doing interviews. A lot of the time I'm doing interviews. So it's usually fun to have those conversations. If it's someone I don't know, I get to know them better. If it's someone I do know, I get to ask them questions that I wouldn't normally ask. And for a little while, I think a lot of last year, 2022, I did mostly interviews and very few solo episodes. But turns out I didn't realize how much the audience enjoyed the solo episodes, which humble brag, I guess. Right? So the solo episodes are usually, you know, a little bit more preparation because I have to, you know, fill the time. But I'm able to share like specific actionable things without meandering so much. So unlike a conversation like the one we're having now, where we kind of go all over the place, the solo episodes could be like a little more direct. Again, that requires more prep, which maybe I was just being a little lazier last year, but I recently published an episode which was requested by a listener. I prepared, did it, and I've actually gotten several emails back. So that's why I'm confident to say like people do enjoy those. I was kind of staying away from this specific topic, which was like creating digital products and courses. I was staying away because it's like more advanced and it would not be as interesting to a wider audience. But I forget, like when I listen to a show like Lex or Tim Ferriss or, you know, someone, I really like it when they go super deep in an area. Like those are my favorite ones. And I'll listen to those again and again versus like the general kind of bullshit conversation that, maybe isn't as actionable. Hopefully I said some actionable stuff today.
You did. You definitely did.
But yeah, I enjoy the flexibility of the format. And I mean, you could do this on YouTube also, but like you can have a 5-minute episode, quick little update. You do a 4-hour update if you want to, and it's totally independent. So YouTube is on someone else's platform. I'm cross-posting them, but like email and podcasting, those are probably like the only 2 independent platforms that you can own on your own. And there's no algorithm. You don't have to consider anything else. It's kind of like your own thing. The other part is I grew up listening to like talk radio, sometimes like sports, sometimes just like general topics and news, but I like talk radio. So I like that format and I enjoy it quite a bit. And for a long time, the audio side was just bigger than my video side. But now, like I said, some people are just using YouTube as a podcast player. Like more people are listening on or viewing on YouTube. So it's something I'm trying to balance out. That's just for the Doug Show. I have another show on personal finance and financial independence. That one actually has a bigger audio side than video side. So kind of interesting.
Wow. That's an interesting twist.
The interview format is it's straight ahead. You know, you just ask questions, have a conversation. I listen to the Bill Burr podcast. Do you know this comedian, Bill Burr?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
But haven't listened to his podcast yet. I've seen his shows. It's good.
Okay. So his podcasts are interesting, and his show and format was the inspiration for the Doug Show. I knew I was going to do some interviews anyway, but he just talks. And sometimes it leads nowhere, but he talks about his life and like what's going on and what he did. And a lot of it is actually 99% of it is irrelevant to me, but he talks about sports a lot and I don't care about sports, but I still listen. And I wanted to have a show where there was enough personality in there that like people would listen even if they don't care about the topic, which is, I mean, that's a big thing because I'm not an entertainer. He has a huge audience, one of the biggest podcasts in the world, right? And he was one of the first podcasters out there. But anyway, I got a lot of inspiration from his show where he was just able to come on, talk about nothing for like an hour.
And still get listeners.
And it's entertaining and it was kind of amazing. But now, it's a good exercise. I would encourage you to check it out, especially like, for Odys, I could see some very, specific how-tos or like, here's the approach you should take. And it could be the same content that you would do in a podcast. Oh, here's a great idea. Yeah. You could present it at conferences, right? So now I'm getting you on stage. You could present it at conferences. You can do a YouTube video on it, and then you can have a podcast on it. And you probably already have a blog post that covers the topic, by the way. So you could just port it over to all the places you need it to go, and then you could work on that solo episode.
Yeah. Sounds good. I mean, haven't thought about it just because there are so many other things we're working on, and I only start thinking about podcast episodes when preparing for one, because there are other things I have to tend to. There's this and that. There are discussions with the marketing team on a number of topics and like figure out the campaigns and things all over the place. So when the time comes to prepare for an episode, I sit down and I start thinking about it. But yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm just creating a bunch of work for you.
I don't mind. I love doing this. It actually was my idea to do the podcast. And the funny thing is that when I approached my marketing lead last summer, we were just having smoke on the balcony, and I standing there, and I'm like, we need a podcast. And he's like, oh yeah, we've been thinking about it, and we've been thinking about getting a person to do this and this and that, and I'm standing there like,
I could do it.
I could do it. And there are a lot of technical things behind what you do, whether it's YouTube or website building, or when it was in other episodes, even the first one with our CEO Alex, when we were talking about domaining and all those things. There are so many complex technical things, but it always really, really fun to turn things around and make them sound simple in a way, not in a like amateurish way, but in a more compelling way, so that like the general audience who are not either into domaining, site building, affiliate marketing would still understand the concept, the key ideas, and maybe some of them will decide to go and, I don't know, try and build a site and try earning, start getting passive income, or maybe they will come to our platform and get a domain. Like, it's always so fun and entertaining. And of course, meeting new people. That's the best part. That's the best part about meeting new people. By the way, what do you do in your spare time?
You could find me walking my dog often. So after we finish up here, we'll go out on a few mile walk. And I go to the gym pretty often. I usually try to go like 5 to 7 times a week. I don't do anything crazy. I just like to stay active. So I actually try to not work too much. So I probably do like 15 to 20 hours per week. And I've been trying to trim it down a little bit more here recently. And I play guitar a little bit. I don't have my guitars out right now, but we were chatting before. So I've been trying to play guitar more. And in the last year or so, I started to get just some nicer, higher end guitars, which are great. I just, never spent the money on them before. But in the last couple of years, I was like, you know what? I'll check it out. So I have some nicer guitars that I try to play. And the other thing that I spend a lot of time on is cooking. So I like to cook. I like food a lot. I do like 90% of the cooking around here. My wife doesn't cook too much. And funny thing, I'm thinking about food a lot right now because currently right now I'm fasting. So I'm doing a 44-hour fast and I am about 40 hours into it. So I'm going to get to eat in a little while. But I like to eat a lot, but I'm thinking about food now because I'm getting a little hungry. But yeah, I try to do a lot of stuff outside and outdoors. And I'm down here in the basement for the people that are watching on YouTube. So it's a good workspace and everything, but no windows here. So I try to do my work and then, go upstairs, go outside, spend a lot of time outside walking around.
Yeah, and it's a mountainous area there, right?
Yep.
You're in Colorado.
Yep. Yeah. So we're like in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, like the Front Range area. So I'm near Boulder, and I can see huge mountains. Like every time I walk outside, it's one of the, the great things about living here is like the beautiful views and the snow-capped mountains. Just amazing. Every day it gets me.
I bet it's spectacular. I love the mountains.
Yeah. And in the summer, it's a little cold right now. So it would be snowshoeing up in the mountains, which we actually snowshoe occasionally, not too often. But I mean, the national park, Rocky Mountain National Park, it's only like 45 minutes away to get to the entrance. So, and there's hundreds or thousands of miles of hiking, like very close by. So yeah, it's a great area. And once it warms up a little bit, I'll be hiking a lot more. My wife, she's going down to 3 days a week now, coming up here shortly. So we'll have like a lot more time to just like go out, hike when it's not too busy on the weekends, stuff like that.
Awesome. What about books? What's your favorite book of all time?
Ooh,
like your
all time,
your personal GOAT.
Yeah. I think I really like Stephen King. So there's a book called The Shining.
Oh,
There was a
yeah.
movie I think it was the late 70s, but
Mhm.
early 80s.
Jack
So
Nicholson.
that's one of my favorites. And side story, Stephen King was inspired to write the book when he stayed at the Stanley Hotel, which is in Estes Park, Colorado, which is about 45 minutes away. It's at Estes Park is like the gateway into Rocky Mountain National Park. So yeah, I think The Shining. So I'm going fiction on this. And I actually have been reading a lot more fiction in the last several years than nonfiction. So
So why Shining in particular?
I love that movie when I was a kid.
The kid.
I think I watched it when I was like 10 or something like
Oh
that.
my.
I didn't get it, but I liked scary movies. So I watched it when I was a kid and always had like fond memories of it. And then I actually worked in the Rocky Mountain National Park in 2002 and 3, and then became acquainted with the Stanley Hotel and learned a little bit more. The story is great. The movie's awesome. It's a Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
And the book is a little bit different than the movie, but equally as good. And a book, you can have so much more detail. And I wasn't big into Stephen King until the last few years, but now I've read tons of his books. But yeah, The Shining, just I think because I liked the movie early when I was a kid, and then I've toured the Stanley, and you go by the room, like it's supposed to be a haunted hotel. So you go by the room, and like it's just a kind of a cool vibe.
Nice.
In that area. So
awesome. Did you read the sequel, Dr. Sleep?
I did. Yeah, I did. Sure did.
Did you like it?
Did you read that too?
Oh yeah, I've read both of them, and I've watched both movies.
Okay.
And I think that Michael Flanagan, the film's director, did an amazing job with like getting different actors that impersonated the same characters from The Shining, but they're different actors, but they really delivered the same vibes, like Jack Nicholson and I don't remember the name of his wife, but yeah, in the book or the film, doesn't matter. But yeah, it's really good, and it really served served justice to both the book and the film, because I know you remember that there's a different ending in there, and he really blended them together in the film by the end of it. It really, and Ewan McGregor was great as well.
Yep. Yeah. Agree. I thought Dr. Sleep was really good too. You never know how the interpretation is going to come through, especially The Shining was so good. So it's like, is it going to be able to keep up with that? But yeah, totally enjoyable. And I think, it's crazy to think the sequel came out so many years later.
Yeah, and the good thing that he didn't try to match Kubrick's level. He just did his own thing, which really worked well, because it didn't look like I don't know, like a cheap copy of a great original. He just did his own thing in his own way. Just kept the essence of the novels. I'd even say, but yeah, it turned out great. If you could choose one thing that you would be stuck with doing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Let's see, as a job, I take it.
Yeah, as a job.
Okay, I think so. I'll give that's a tough one. One, I could do like podcast and content creation, like I have been doing. Like I've slowly been like nurturing that area. And one thing that I've done with YouTube is just kind of ignore the algorithm and create the content that I want to create to avoid burnout. And if you watch some YouTubers, like they'll create a video and they're like, I'm burned out, I need a break, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of mental health issues that they run into. So I've avoided that to the detriment of like actually creating videos that do well for the algorithm, but I'm fine with that. I don't need to earn money from it. So it takes the pressure off. So that would be like one thing, which is likely. I mean, I'm probably going to be doing some form of this kind of content for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
The other would be like working as maybe like a trail maintenance person out in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I worked in the Rocky Mountain National Park in college. I worked at the snack bar. It was like a little tourist trap at the top of the mountain. It was fun, really fun. But there are other folks that go out, they work for, I think, the Forest Service, and they like rebuild the trails. So they like hike out, which is fun. They're outdoors. And then they move rocks around for a few hours to build the trail.
Wow.
And occasionally you pass them, they're hauling lumber or doing something. So they're doing some cool physical labor out in the mountains. They're camping out there for a couple of days while they work on that part of the trail. And then they'll like go back. So that would be pretty fun because you're outside, you're getting exercise, you're in a great area. The people that are going by you, they're hikers. They're in a good mood. It's not people that are angry, driving in traffic, waiting in line at the store. They're like outdoors, really happy that they're able to go hike outside.
Wow, that's really really distant take from one to the other. Like digital content creation, and then some really wildlife type of job.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And I think, the podcast is probably more likely. I probably won't, go out on the trails and move rocks around.
Yeah, only if AI takes over and we're left with nothing to do online.
Yeah. AI can't move the rocks.
At least for now.
Yeah.
All right. My last question for you would be, what would your advice for aspiring entrepreneurs be?
I think it's really important to understand how much work it's going to take. So, especially on YouTube, especially in the passive income space or make money online, everyone's talking about how easy it is, and it's simple, but it's not easy. So the concepts are simple. Step 1, step 2, those might be pretty simple, but stringing together all these actions over a long period of time is pretty difficult. We talked about some of the external factors that can impact you, but those might be like external factors to the business, but it's like family constraints or your full-time job. So it is difficult, and the expectations are often not quite right. So it's going to take you a little bit longer. And I would say, it might be shorter than you think, but it's going to be a little more difficult. It'll take a little bit longer. So I've heard it mentioned in a few places, but the Tropical MBA podcast is one place that made this popular. It's called the 1,000-day rule, 1,000-day principle. And it takes about 1,000 days working on your side project to be able to like replace your full-time income.
Mm-hmm.
Many variables, but it takes like 2 or 3 years to get your thing big enough where that can support your lifestyle. And that's probably a good metric. If you're a little experienced in a certain area, maybe it's a little shorter. If you are completely new, maybe it's a little bit longer, but 3 years is probably about right. The other advice is to just be flexible. Be flexible, be willing to pivot. And if you are doing something that is kind of working in one area, like maybe you need to pivot to that area that's working and ignore the rest. It's tough because you don't want to pivot too much either. So I'm telling you, be willing to pivot and be flexible. But the other sin that people commit is they switch from one thing to another without putting in enough work. So shiny object syndrome, people go from a niche affiliate website to drop shipping to Kindle publishing to Etsy e-printables to YouTube, and they spend 6 weeks or 6 months on each one. They never got traction. They continually get stuck in that beginner's mindset, the beginner phase. They're making dumb mistakes for each one of them instead of identifying the mistake, figure out a way not to do it again, and then make better decisions. So like you want to be able to pivot, but you don't want to jump around too much without actually like giving it a chance. So, and the final thing is like anyone can do it. Like you don't have to have a specific amount of skill. Like now I do YouTube and podcast. I was a horrible speaker before. I didn't know anything about this industry. I don't have like a theater or performance background at all. I have an engineering background. I don't like to talk to people. Like there's a lot of stuff. I like to talk to people, but at a party back in the day, like I'd be in the corner. Right? So it is completely different. I had absolutely zero skill level in this area, and it just took a lot of repetition. So if there's something that you do want to do, you probably can learn how to do it and develop the skills. You just have to put in the time and have a mindset where you want to continually improve.
Yeah, and be prepared to make mistakes, have some losses, and as you said, like learn your lessons based on those mistakes.
Yeah, you will make plenty of mistakes. I still make mistakes all the time, and it's fine. Like you get over it. You eventually realize that like usually it's not going to be a catastrophic mistake, and just make a decision, move forward. You could probably fix it later.
And it's just another opportunity to learn something new. Like even if it's not do this, it's still something new, right? All right, Doug, thank you very much for this conversation. Really enjoyed it. We've been, like you said, all over the place discussing this and that. Really, we went from earning with websites to books and to trailing. Just wow, you're an amazing person, an amazing person to talk to in particular. Even though you didn't like to speak to people, to talk to people, you're doing it. You're doing great, and I really enjoy listening to you once in a while. I'm watching your videos once in a while, and I encourage people to check Doug Cunnington on YouTube if you haven't yet. So thank you for joining us on Odys podcast.
Thanks a lot, much appreciated, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon.